Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to wire up and connect this third generation Nest thermostat to your Eberspacher Webasto diesel heater on your boat, your caravan, your RV or your camper, so stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome back to Boating Tube. If this is your first time here, please consider hitting that subscribe and bell notification so you get reminded when we upload a new video. On this channel we do news, reviews, how-tos and generally help you out in boating, but some of these things could be relevant to other mediums as well, like caravanning, RVs, canal boats and all the rest of it. In this video, as I say, we're going to be hooking up this Nest third generation thermostat to our Eberspacher diesel heater. So first off, let's check and see what's in the box and we'll get into it. Here is the box as it comes. Now, just as there's going to be lots of disclaimers in this video, I actually picked this one up used off of eBay, but it came boxed, and I believe all the bits are in the box, but if yours comes with different stuff, then I can't comment on that. Now, just another quick caveat, this is the UK/European version. The American version of the Nest thermostat is different. So again, this video really is designed specifically for the UK version. The American one might work, but I can't unfortunately comment on that because I'm not in America. But if someone does know, then please stick a comment down below to help everybody else out. So let's look at what's in the box. So there's the lid off. This is the actual thermostat unit itself. As you can see here, it's really nice, kind of brushed stainless glass front, big kind of round display. Then on the back of the unit there is this kind of connector that connects into the base. So that's the actual kind of thermostat unit. Let's just put that to the side. Take this piece of packaging out. This and underneath is what's called the heat link. Now the heat link is the bit that actually connects up and has got the relays and the switches inside it that actually talks, we're going to use to talk to the Eberspacher, or that's normally talks to your boiler or your central heating system in your home. So the thermostat wirelessly talks to this unit. There's no direct connections between this unit here and the heat link necessarily. There can be, but in most cases it's a wireless connection between the two. So let's pop the heat link off now. Just to kind of show you, here is the lid off the heat link, and you can then see all of the connections along here, and I'll go through and talk you through. There is actually a diagram here you can see underneath which talks through what each one of the settings are on the heat link itself. You can actually power the heat link up on a micro USB here, but the switching doesn't work on the 5 volts of the USB. You either need to use 12 volts here on the T1 and T2 terminals, which is what we're going to be using aboard the boat, or if you have a main system, let's say you've got an inverter, or if you just want to run this off shore power, then you can use the main side, this side over here, where it says live and neutral. Do make sure you know what you're doing with electronics and wiring. I don't want to be held responsible for any magic smoke or anyone electrocuting themselves or blowing up their boat. If you do this, you're doing it at your own risk of knowing roughly what you're doing. So that is the heat link unit. And then the last sort of major component here is the ring that the actual thermostat docks kind of into. So you can see there that connector that the main thermostat unit sort of connects into. There is a spirit level here, I don't know if you can kind of see that, for mounting. Now this obviously is very interesting when you're mounting it to a boat, because the spirit level is obviously trying to find level, and you have to then work out, is your boat level as well? So I'm not sure the spirit level is that useful when you're putting it on your boat, but just it's there. There's then 2 terminals here and here, which are what we're going to use to run 12 volts off the battery from the boat into the thermostat head. However, if you want to run this yourself and run it sort of separately, you can just about, you can't really see in there where my finger is there, there's a micro USB. Now you can actually power the thermostat like that from a micro USB, so a battery bank or if a USB socket. They do actually make a kind of desktop stand, so you could actually sort of sit this on the desktop stand and place it anywhere, because again this wirelessly communicates to the heat link, and that's the bit we're going to connect up to the Eberspacher. So again, You can run this on 12 volts, you can run this on 5 volts off of micro USB, off a battery bank or a plug-in a USB kind of adapter. You don't have to connect this up to the heat link, and again you can run this wherever you want, within range. I don't know what the range is, but you can run it in range. Just lastly, to finish off the amazing unboxing, not really good at unboxings, but there's also this plate in the back of the unit. I think this sort of goes over the sort of standard thermostat holes and mountings, just to hide any holes from your old thermostat in the wall. It's just like a plastic plate, and there's a couple of adhesive kind of wood screws in the box. Now that was all that was in mine. You might have a manual, you might have other stuff in yours, so I don't know. This was used off of eBay. So that's really what we've got in the box. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mount this backing plate and get this powered up with the Nest thermostat head, which is the easy bit, and then we're going to go and try and tap this in to the wiring loom on the Eberspacher. So let's get back to it, and I'll show you when we've got this mounted up on the boat. Right, so I've mounted the mounting ring up. You need to drill kind of 3 holes, one each side for the screws. I just use self-tappers in there, and then you need a hole in the middle just to be able to run the cables through. Now you can see there the T1 and T2. Now according to the manual, I downloaded it, those are not polarity sensitive, so you can actually plug them in either way. Again, I'm not being held responsible for any magic smoke. This is the way I've wired it up, which is actually different to the way that the voltage is coming out of the heat link, but it seems to work okay, and I'll show you that working. But again, according to the manual, these are not polarity sensitive. I'm only going on what the manual says, so do that at your own risk. So here is the main unit, so we're just going to kind of plug that in. So as you plug it in, you'll see that it then comes up. There's a little LED that flashes at the top, and then the unit then fires up and starts to wake up and do its stuff there. So we'll give that a couple of minutes to kind of boot up and start up, and then I'll talk you through the rest of the process. Next up, we need to deal with the heat link itself. So I'll run through the connections and how I've got this connected up, so that you can follow this through as I come down here. So you can see from left to right we've got neutral and live. These are mains 240 volts AC. I'm not going to be connecting those up. However, obviously if you do have a main system on your boat and you want to use mains, then those are the 2 that you use. These first 3 here on the relay, and maybe easier if I actually bring this up as well and show you. So the first 3 there, so 1, 2 and 3 are off the thermostat single pole double throw relay. So you can see there, so it's closed between 1 and 2 when it's when the relay is kind of not energized, and then when the relay is energized, it will then switch between 2 and 3. Now what does this mean? Well, I'm going to run 12 volts up to this middle pin 2, and then we're going to connect this pin 3 up to the yellow wire on our Eberspacher, and that's the cool for heat wire on the Eberspacher. So when you get 12 volts, when you send 12 volts down that yellow line, it tells the Eberspacher to wake up and start to turn on and to heat, basically. So 12 volts is going to come up on pin 2 and do nothing. Once the thermostat kicks in, either via a schedule or via you turning up the heat on the thermostat, it will then flick the relay across. This 12 volts will be sent to pin 3 down this other wire to the yellow connector on the Eberspacher, and that'll tell the Eberspacher to heat up or to kick on. The next 3 are for the hot water system, same process, so it's normally closed between these 2 here, so 4 and 5 will be closed when the hot water system is kind of off, and then it will switch to 5 and 6 when it calls for hot water again, either via a schedule or via you turning that on the mobile app or via the thermostat itself. The next 2, I don't actually have any idea what they're for. It's called Max 42 Open Therm. So I don't know what they're for, but we're not going to use those, so ignore them. And then the last 3 that you can see here, we have a ground. Now I'd highly recommend obviously you hook that up and wire that up to ground or earth. in your system. And then we have T1 and T2 like we did on the thermostat head. Now when I powered this up and ran this up, I put a voltmeter across and I saw that there was negative on T1 and positive on T2, so that's how I've wired this up. So what we're going to do is we're going to feed 12 volts DC into T1 and T2, and that's enough to be able to power the heat link unit and to be able to switch the relays. Now you can power it from this 5 volt micro USB connector, but the 5 volts doesn't have enough power to be able to energize the relays for the thermostat, the heat thermostat or the water thermostat. So you have to use the 12 volt side of the heat links. And again, the way I've wired this up and got this working is negative on T1, positive on T2. Again, this may be polarity independent, I don't know. I've wired it up like this and it works, so that's what I'm going to use. Again, up to you if you are choosing to follow along with this guide, how you choose to do it. But certainly negative on T1, positive on T2, sorry, gives power to the heat link itself, allows it to pair up to the thermostat head, and allows the relays, the relay on the heater and the water to be able to then switch. There's no mains, we're not using any mains, no 240 volts AC, it's purely 12 volts DC. And again, I'm sending it up to pins 2 on the thermostat side, and if I was using the hot water, I'd send it up to pin 5, and then I'm using T1 negative and T2 for the positive. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. Again, if you've got any comments, leave them down below and I'll try and answer them. So what we now need to do is mount this up near to our Eberspacher. We need to get a 12 volt feed into these two, and then we need to wire the pin 3 here into the yellow wire of our Eberspacher loom to be able to then cool for heat. So send that 12 volts down that pin 3 to cool for heat on the Eberspacher unit itself. Right, so you'll have to excuse the mess, and again, this is just a temporary proof of concept. Clearly you want to use a waterproof connector for this, but you can see the yellow wire there. That's the one that feeds off of the Eberspacher loom. There is said Eberspacher. Ours is D4, but this is the same loom, I believe, for the D2, D3, D4, D5. I'm guessing it's kind of the same for the Webasto. So long as you've got a cool to heat that expects 12 volts onto it, then this will work. So again, the standard thermostat is still wired in, the standard controller is still wired in, so we can still use that if we want to. But literally I've just cut the yellow wire and just tapped in an additional wire, and that's what I'm going to wire then into that pin number 3 on the heat link, and send the 12 volts to that. So again, you want to put a proper connector on that. This is just literally a proof of concept before any marine engineers shoot me down, but you just tested this to make sure it works, then I'll come back and neaten it all up and tidy it up. So let's get it all connected up now and show you it in action. So our heat link's all wired in to that yellow wire. Again, for the cool tweet, you can see I've got my Nest thermostat here, using it as just an analog clock when it's not being used. So if we press it, it says heat is off currently at the moment. Press it again, you can go through then all the settings. So here is where you can then choose where it's set to, mode, safety temperatures, the hot water schedule, Nest Sense, turning the display. Again, I've got ours set to analog clock. The brightness for the device, the click sound, Fahrenheit or Celsius, date and time, language, the Nest app. This is where you connect it up to your mobile phone and run the Nest app. The location, obviously going to blur that out, my personal details, so that's where you give it your postcode and it will then show you the weather, and then the network. So obviously if you've got a network and you want to use the remote app on your mobile phone, so connect it up to a Wi-Fi network there. The lock placement, let's say it's on our boat, and then under equipment you will then see where you can then connect it up to the heat link. So there you can see equipment, setup, heat link, bacteria prevention, pro setup and back. So again, ours is connected up to the heat link. Heat link is connected. You'll see a green light on the heat link as well, just to show that that is working. So that is all good. So what we can then do is We go back here. How do we get out of this now? Done, probably. There we go. What else have we got in here? So Nest Pro, not sure about that. This is the software. Ours is currently running the latest version of software. Technical info gives you sort of date, times and versions and stuff. Legal if you want to read that. And then reset. And then back to normal. So you can see here the temperature currently on the boat here at the top is 20 degrees. The heating is currently off. So what I can do is turn the heating on, and then I can then set a cool to heat. So now it's set to 21.5, it's gone orange. Here you can hear the pump clicking on and starting and firing up, and the unit going through its initialization process, and that usual jet sound as it fires up the heater and starts to heat up the unit. The Eberspacher is now fired up, warming the boat up nicely. I hope you found the video useful. Again, a lot of technical detail in here. It is quite straightforward, but again, you need to kind of know your way around 12 volt system and power. And again, if you don't, then get someone who does know what they're doing, because you will have magic smoke and you will break something, blow something up, or generally damage something. So you do this at your own risk, but it is an awesome addition to any boat, camper van, caravan, RV, because you can remotely set the heating to come on before you get down, get everything nice and toasty warm. So when you come down, certainly in the winter now as it's cooling down here in the UK, get everything nice and warm. Thank you very much for watching. Please do hit that subscribe and bell notification. Again, we're trying to do videos more regularly, every week or so, and upload them. I'd love to hear from you as well, what you'd like to see in future videos, and I'll try and help you out and make those, and I'll catch you on those next ones.